Yujin, if I want to explore the Abrahamic religions of Judaism, Christianity, and Islam, I have to confront their claim that there is a heaven, there is a hell in some form or another. These seem strange or odd in the modern world to talk about such things. How do you see heaven and hell?
Okay, let's start with hell. Hell is not a very popular concept these days. Many theists reject this kind of idea, at least among theistic philosophers. Hell is a place where people have to suffer eternally. And many people think that omnibenevolent or morally perfect God wouldn't create this kind of thing. I mean, people can do really awful things, but it's very unclear whether they deserve an eternal suffer in hell.
That seems to be incoherent. No matter how bad you are for a temporal period of time, 70 years, 100 years out of eternity, it just seems horrendous.
Exactly.
And a being that would create that situation would seem morally reprehensible, not just not morally perfect, but morally reprehensible.
Right. Yeah. So sending people to hell as a punishment sounds just extremely too harsh, unreasonably harsh. So let's move on to heaven. I think heaven is a more interesting concept. So heaven is meant to be the exact opposite to hell. So people go to heaven, and heaven is an extremely nice place, and it's eternally nice, and it's necessarily nice there. But now the problem for theists is this. So theists often claim, in response to the problem of evil, like this. So they say that there is evil in this world because God had to create free human beings. Because freedom is such a great thing, God has to give us freedom. And because we are free, we perform morally right actions as well as morally wrong actions. And that's why there is evil. So this is an attempt to shift responsibility from God to us. We are responsible for evil. Right. God is not responsible. Now, consider heaven again. Are people free in heaven? If people are free in heaven, then there has to be evil in heaven as well. Because, if people are free to do morally right actions and wrong actions, then there has to be evil in heaven.
And therefore you're saying that heaven, in the theist view, has some internal inconsistency based on the totality of their views.
Yeah, so they might say that heaven is different from earth because in heaven the environment is different. So maybe people are not tempted to commit sin in heaven. But then you can wonder why earth is not like that. Why we don't live in this kind of environment where we are not tempted to perform morally wrong actions.
So this attempt is to make theists hew to a consistent story. And the consistent story is not just what they believe about heaven or hell, but it has to conform to other things they're saying about other parts of the whole system that they're putting together.
Right. That's right.
The argument, though, is that when we get to heaven, our nature will have been changed. So we'll see God in person, and we'll never want to sin because our nature will be different.
Then my response is, how come we don't have that nature on earth? God could have created so that we have this great nature from the beginning. Why do we need to live on earth and then send to heaven? And
well, we needed this first stage where we saw the difference between obedience to God and what happens when we're apart from God, and we see all the evil and all the terrible things that happen to our lives, the misery. But then we'll realize when we see God the difference between the two, and then it'll be impossible for us to do morally bad things or to sin in the future. That's the argument.
Then I would really want to say that why we're not like that here. We want to be like that here. We don't want to have evil. We don't want to suffer. How come God couldn't create us so that we have this nice nature, so that we never commit any sin?
Yeah, I'm certainly not going to give answers to questions that are impossible to answer. But another thing, trying to resolve the issues of what God and can't do in a heaven or hell, is that at least in the story that you read in the Bible, that Satan and the demons, which seem to be personalities in the spiritual world of God prior to humans, some of those sinned and had the free will to sin in that environment. So how could Satan and the demons rebel against God? They must have had free will.
That's right. And some people claim that they are causing natural disasters. So we can explain away natural evil in terms of demon and Satan, who are almost like more beings that are more powerful than us and probably more evil than us.
So what does this all say about the coherence of the traditional doctrines of heaven and hell?
Let me explain the other horn of the dilemma here. So another possibility is that actually people are not free in heaven. So there is no evil because people are not free in heaven. God makes sure that there is no evil in heaven. But then you can again wonder why earth is not like that. How come we have freedom? And theists tend to say that we are free because freedom is a great thing. And if it's a great thing, then people should be free in heaven. But then again, heaven is an eternal place, and if people stay there eternally, and it's unbelievable that they never commit any sin there.